Welcome back, YouTube people. For anyone who's been playing this Dominating Blow build, we've made a few changes. There were a few things that didn't work out quite the way we were hoping. So, for starters, cluster jewels became incredibly hard to roll. So, we've had to change our endgame plan away from using cluster jewels for the sake of making it accessible for most people. Also, the nerf that happened to specters last league means that our specters die constantly. We had to fix that too. So a few things have happened. One, we found new specters because charge monkeys died constantly. Specter. Charge monkeys died constantly, so we got mobs called Arena Master specters. They are from Drox. The only way to get them is to get a Drox influenced map. Look for the part where two portals pop up out of the ground and mobs come pouring out of them. Those are Drox mobs. You will be able to find and specter up one of them from there, and then you can go back to your hideout and you can desecrate them once you own one. They don't exist in the desecrate pool in a map. You have to actually find a corpse until you've got one, and then they exist in the desecrate table and you can desecrate them wherever you want. So these are immortal, and their buff is nearly as good as 3 frenzy charges to begin with. You can see when their buff is up, I have a 25.9k tooltip, whereas I normally have a 19k tooltip. They also add 50% movement speed, and they do not end up banging their shields perfectly in sequence when you're mapping. So there's a pretty decent overlap, and it's up most of the time. They also right now have near 1 million effective life. They're basically unkillable. So we've changed over to them. Now, you'll also notice that I'm wearing +2 socketed minion level gloves, and I have a 21 raised specter. This is absolutely not needed. I went to this hassle to try and get charge monkeys to work, and it didn't still. So with that in mind, no reason to have plus minions, and just a level 20 specter is fine. We do not need the level 23 specter that I've got. We did that purely to try and get charge monkeys working, and it still didn't work. We just could not keep them alive. So I managed to get them back in the build. We've got them and the carrion golem, both linked to meat shield and elemental army support. This caps out their res, gives them less damage taken, gives them pretty good move speed to keep up with me, and they take 25% less damage. Now my golem pretty much never dies either, although again he is very easy to resummon. I have moved what will eventually just be in a 1 link. My holy relic just exists on its own with a self curse. I've currently got minion damage support in there because I've been testing out feeding frenzy and minion damage, and I just don't like keeping gems in my inventory because they accidentally get vended. So I'm just swapping there. Eventually, I'm probably going to put a Val Haste in that slot once I make a decision on whether I want feeding frenzy or minion damage. Big change if you missed it. We're using an awakened melee splash in our 6 link. I only changed this out for Maim for Cirrus. Anything under that, just clear and kill bosses with awakened melee splash in. Awakened melee splash is still very cheap. There really aren't that many of them. If you can't afford it, a normal melee splash is fine. This has been quite nice. Sorry buddy, you're gonna have to wait. I did get a second ring that had mana reservation on it, but it does not have the sentinel. So this is like a 30c ring to go with my 1 good ring that hasn't been divined yet. But that, mixed with us knowing we're probably not getting clusters, has meant we had to respec the tree because we were not planning on not having clusters. So what I've ended up going with is 2 extra endurance charges. I've dropped my cast when damage taken immortal call, so I now run around with 5 endurance charges all the time, which is quite nice. We've got a pretty decent amount of life. We kept our instant war cry. We ended up respecking especially this part of the tree. We don't need this mana reservation anymore now that we've got a second ring, which let me respec this way through here. We got this, which helped with our mana regen a little bit, along with just, generic life. We managed to get Enduring Bond. We fit in Lord of the Dead, which is more damage. We've now anointed Ravenous Horde because we've got a little more money and an okay enough amulet to warrant it, because our last amulet was a little And we've kept our block. That's pretty much all of our changes. We also managed to get a +3 and minion damage helmet. I suggest finding these via whoops, which are, I guess, the colloquial name for live searches, which is just when you go to pathofexile.com/trade and you go to look for +3 and minion damage, you'll notice that they're between 4 and 8x on softcore trade. But if you just hit live search there and then just go about your business, you will find one of these for 2 to 2.5. They regularly move several times a day for 2 to 2.5. It's pretty common, but the ones left up for 4x, they're left there because they're not selling. Because that's too much money. These are too easy to roll. If you want to roll it yourself, get an 86 Eldered helmet and just throw bound. Just throw single bound fossils at it until you hit minion damage and +3. And hopefully room to craft life at least, and then that would be done. Those changes together have moved me from taking like 1.5 to 2 minutes to kill a Woke-8 Veritania to about 20 seconds. The specters are insane. The respec has helped a lot. The reason we were spec the other way is because we expected cluster jewels to be as easy to roll as they were last league. They are insanely hard to roll. I will not be counting cluster jewels as part of the build guide because of how expensive they are. I might get some, and if I do, I will post a video with some Path of buildings of my new clusters and whatnot, but I expect that the large cluster will be somewhere around 10 or 15x. The smalls will be another 15 each. Not smalls, the mediums will be another 15 each, right? Like, I'm not gonna put out a guide that needs those. So we're making it work pretty well without them, but it has meant changes. The only other thing worth noting is I will not be updating the build guide for the next few days while I still experiment with other options now that we've had to make some changes. So the path of building for this specific character as it is will be linked in the description of this video. And hopefully that's everything covered. And when we're done experimenting and we make proper decisions, we'll update the actual build guide as well. Alright, I am BalorMage, and I will see everyone from YouTube later.